The Holy Roller is, first of all, is a memorial. It preserves the memory of those who went. They didn't have to, they were all volunteers, but they saw something that needed to be done. They were just ordinary people, and they went and did extraordinary things.
The 1st Hussars is an armored regiment. During the Second World War, it went through several name changes. It eventually became the 6th Canadian Armored Regiment / 1st Hussars.
Well, originally we started out as a cavalry regiment on horses. Eventually we were equipped with Sherman tanks just before the D-Day landings. And a regiment would typically have 63 Sherman tanks. We lost a total of 346, which makes Holy Roller's survival just that much more amazing.
So this tank is very significant in that it is probably one of the only tanks left in the world that actually participated in the assault of Normandy.
The Holy Roller at the end of the war was scheduled to go basically into the scrap heap. The regiment said no. We wanted to bring home one of our own. So it came back to London because that's where its home was.
There are a lot of kids that have played on this tank, myself included as a child being born in London. At the time as a child, maybe you don't recognize the significance of that. As an adult, you sort of learn to understand what it represents. We want to keep this for future generations. We want it to last another 75 to 100 years going forward.
If you saw the tank last year, it looked pretty good on the outside. But on the inside, it was just rusting away. I mean, it sat outside since basically 1946 with zero maintenance done to it.
I started on this project June 2021. I was asked to film the Holy Roller leaving the park, and we wanted to show the preservation process, and I really wanted to make it accessible for everyone so people all over the world could be inside the tank and see the process that it took place and how long and grueling the process was. You could see that the damage was extensive and that it was kind of losing a piece of history. The whole turret was basically breaking down into little bits, and when I went inside and I saw it, it looked like it was on the brink of being unsalvageable because it was just so far gone. It was kind of hard to imagine how it could get back to the condition it was before.
We really didn't know what we needed until we got it up to Fanshawe into the shop.
We had to take it apart using much the same methods they would have used in World War II. We had to remove all of the rust. We had to repaint it. We had to add metal. We had to replace the tracks.
The weather over that basically had just destroyed the track. The rust had ripped apart the rubber and all that, so the track had to be replaced. The road wheels, basically, the water had got between the rubber and the metal and destroyed that, so we had to find road wheels and track.
It was constant curiosity, constant, what have we found?
So the restoration took a full year. It was originally intended to start out as a one Saturday a month, but as things happen, the volunteers were committing almost every Saturday starting in August.
The number of volunteers we actually had working on the tank was probably somewhere coming and going, probably about 20 to 25. Some of them were past members of the regiment. Some of them were past members of other regiments. Some of them had never worked on anything before in their life, but they were caught by the imagination of this project. The groups involved in the restoration was incredible. It was the citizens of London, citizens of Canada, and in fact we had donations from around the world who wanted to see the tank preserved. The city provided a great deal of technical assistance. The federal government participated, both Veterans Affairs Canada through their programs for funding, and the Federal Development Ministry in the federal government as well. Provided a great deal of funding. Fanshawe College was instrumental in providing us home and technical assistance. General Dynamics Land Systems Canada were a great help in technical and financial assistance. Militex, a number of local companies. We even had Toboggan Brewery sponsored the Holy Roller Lager. Some days we just couldn't have got through without them.
GDLSC's interest in the Holy Roller is a result of our close relationship with the Canadian Armed Forces. And we looked at this as a way of preserving history, or helping to preserve history, and putting back into the community as well. I was formerly a member of the 1st Hussars from 1993 to 2000. I have paraded in front of this tank. I've been promoted in front of this tank, so it has a special meaning to me. I was always going to work on this vehicle and preserve it. If I didn't preserve this as a General Dynamics role, it was always important to me to continue to keep this as part of the city and to represent its significance to the city.
When I first saw the tank, I honestly never thought much about it. I'm not from London, so I never really saw it that much. And at the beginning of this project, I was kind of a little uneasy about it, working with a tank. But after hearing the stories from the veterans and really understanding the history behind the tank, it's not as much a symbol of war, but as a symbol of peace. And the veterans now, they don't look at the tank and see it as this was a killing machine. They see it as this helped protect our veterans, and this helped protect our crew and family.
If you go back to why the tank came over, it survived freeing Europe from tyranny. So it came back as a memorial, not as a trophy, but as a memorial of this tank survived where many did not. That's what this represents.
The idea was it would always be back by June 5th, 2022, which is its 80th birthday, the 78th anniversary of D-Day, and the 150th anniversary of the regiment.
In the moment of it landing back on the platform, it was a lot. I definitely had a massive wave of emotions, because now I can look at it and go by Victoria Park and say that I worked on that. I helped with that.
A regiment is a family. It has a past, it has a present, and it has a future. And we are guardians of that memory. And we're guardians of that family for the time that we're here. And so there is always that feeling, there's always that promise that you may not be here physically, but you will be here in memory. 50, 75 years from now, people will still remember. We have virtually no World War II veterans left. Now there are very, very few. So it isn't as if you're providing some place for them to gather. What you're providing is a place for future generations to gather and to remember.